the show. We got Liz Loza here. We're going to do some Fantasy Jeopardy. It's going to be a fun show. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. And for goodness sake, hit like on the video. We always have a lot more viewers than we do have likes. So please go ahead and help us out there. But yeah, subscribe to the channel so you can find out when we're doing our live streams that are YouTube exclusive. And let's get started. Welcome to another edition, your Friday audio edition, your Thursday video edition of Fantasy Football Today. It's Fantasy Jeopardy Day. Schneier, what have you done to prepare for Fantasy Jeopardy?
Well, everyone knows the last and only time I was on Fantasy Jeopardy, I got wiped. But the fact of the matter was this. You put me in front of Heath in my first ever Fantasy Jeopardy, who's obviously our reigning champion and our best Jeopardy player. So now I'm hoping that I have a better draw. And what do I find out? It's Liz Loza. So I'm freaking screwed again. I'm going to be dominated once again. The only thing that I can do and hope that will bring me through this, Adam, and make me feel a little bit better, it's just you getting a lot of the questions wrong, you throwing out Azer stats that I can debunk mid-show. Once we just turn it back on you, that'll make me feel a lot better about this.
That shouldn't take long. Yeah, Liz Loza is here. I'll introduce her in just a second. We'll be doing Jeopardy. We're reading your emails at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. That's the letter I, fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. And Liz is going to give us a sleeper and a breakout as well. Hopefully we'll get to talk about Dalton Schultz at some point. Hopefully that just comes up. But we are joined by Liz Loza. She's been on several times. You can find her on Yahoo. You can find her on Twitter at Liz Loza, LOZA_FF. And good afternoon. How you doing?
I am well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm a little bit nervous about this Jeopardy bit. I didn't see this part of the intro sheet. I didn't understand. And now, it's trivia night without the booze or the forgiving fans around you. This is going to be interesting.
Hey, if you want to, seems like you're near a kitchen. If you want to get some booze, that's totally up to you. That is no problem here. Fantasy Jeopardy. You think Heath is so good at Fantasy Jeopardy then that actually the running joke is I always find a way to penalize Heath or make Heath lose or something like that. And yet you still lost to Heath. But Liz, before we go any further, tell us, about podcasts, articles, whatever you want to promote.
Sure. Well, I've been doing a series the past few weeks called Pressing Questions, where I take every division and each team within the division and highlight one of the most pressing questions for that team/division. And let's see, the NFC South just posted today, Thursday, over on the website, Yahoo Fantasy. Next week is the last week. It is NFC West. So we're going to talk, maybe some questions about Seattle. What's the best fantasy value on the Seahawks? Obviously have to discuss the Rams and Allen Robinson and Cam Akers and whether or not he can return to 2020 form. So there's a lot of good stuff there, a lot of buzzy names. Already talked about Derrick Henry, which apparently you didn't read since you decided to draft him so high in the fishbowl.
I didn't. That was Schneier.
Never mind.
That was his crap team. Yeah. So who has the best fantasy value on the Seahawks? That is a really interesting question. You've got Metcalf in about the 4th round. You've got a bunch of guys in around 7 or 8. Lockett, Penny, and Walker, I think. This is just my ADP off the top of my head from Fantasy Pros. I can confirm. But what's your quick answer to that, Liz, or what's your initial answer?
I think overall it's probably going to be Tyler Lockett when you judge talent and the ability and value. But I do think that Noah Fant might be sneaky. Right now, Geno Smith obviously leading the competition, but I can't imagine he's going to hold on to that job even if he starts the season with it. And we like the connection, theoretically, that Locke and Fant have had. I like Drew Lock as the quarterback for fantasy purposes because he will push the ball, has more of a YOLO style. We've already seen Geno Smith. We've seen plenty of Locke as well. But I think for fantasy, I'd prefer to have Locke. And I think Lockett, when I'm looking at that talent and where he's going, is probably, and the temperament, frankly, an ability to deal in not so wonderful situations and chaotic situations is probably the right answer. But I do think, like I said, Fant might be a sneaky play for streaming.
I actually want to know about Liz's take on Allen Robinson moving over to the Rams. Obviously, former Bear. I'm sure you have a good beat on him.
I'm worried about the medicals, right? Because he's had these cascade of lower body injuries that started in 2020, towards the end of 2020. And I've been doing this series in conjunction with with an orthopedic surgeon and the USC Trojans doctor, team doctor, called Rest versus Rust. And in doing that series, while I do not hold an MD, I have learned that recurrent injuries, particularly related to the soft tissue and in the same area of the body, do not just go away unless volume is tweaked, which then obviously volume is king in fantasy becomes an issue. My only asterisk to that is that last year was so chaotic, and it probably allowed Robinson to make a business decision a la Kenny Golladay did, right? Like the previous, when he was in Detroit, and just sort of probably was back from the hip issue, but knew he wanted to test free agency and didn't want to deal with the medicals ahead of testing the market or hurt himself any further while he was in Detroit in a lost season. And he cleared, Robinson did, the Rams medicals. So if the Rams were willing to pay him, then he should be okay. But I'm not as... I have him right now as wide receiver 24, which I think is a bit of a cop-out if I'm being 100% serious. I'm a little bit more bearish on him than maybe I should be. But again, this is one of those players who I will actually listen to coach speak on. I want to see in August. I want to see this is one of those players that I feel like the reports in August are going to be more telling than. And also, we've always learned this is not the first time this injury, a significant injury either, has hit him. So wide receiver 24 right now.
Okay. That's Allen Robinson. So let's get some sleepers, breakouts, and busts. Just want to promote our Facebook group, though, before we do that. No bust, just sleeper and breakout today from Liz, and we'll get into Fantasy Jeopardy. But our Facebook group is awesome. You can have these types of conversations with other Fantasy Football Today listeners and viewers. You can just ask start, sit questions, waiver wire questions, trade questions during the season. Right now, obviously, draft questions, dynasty, keeper, whatever it is. Check out our Facebook group. There's a link in the episode description, or you can just go on Facebook and search for Fantasy Football Today. Okay, Liz, give me a sleeper.
I'm going to dock tight end again, because if you don't draft Travis Kelce, or you don't reach for Kyle Pitts, or feel comfortable about Mark Andrews, then you're probably going to have to wait a minute and stream. I know you want to talk about Dalton Schultz. I think that was implied in that introduction. But I think that Robert Tonyan is going incredibly low. Obviously, heading into last year, before he tore his ACL in, week 8 at Arizona, he was a prime candidate for touchdown regression, except when you notice at the top of the season prior to the injury, the weeks in which Davante Adams was out, he did find the end zone. And now with over 200 targets vacated in Green Bay, and noting that Aaron Rodgers is such a tight circle guy. He's such a circle of trust type of quarterback. I feel like Tonyan is ready for a resurgence, and he's, especially in those big scoring situations, going to draw the favor of Aaron Rodgers well before Christian Watson, who I know the hype train loves, but has a disgusting 12.7 career drop rate in college. So I think Robert Tonyan deserves he's going in the 15th or 16th round. So if you want to wait on tight end and just take a flyer late and know you're probably going to stream for most of the season, he would be the bet I would make.
That's interesting. And yeah, we don't talk enough about what he did in those games without Davante Adams. But in 2020, he had 5 for 50 and a touchdown. I think he had his 6 for 98 and 3 touchdown game in week 4. So that was a huge game. And then in week 8, he had 3 catches for 49 yards, which is, 3 catches you don't like, but 49 yards is pretty darn good for a tight end. So yes, he definitely stepped up. Just got to see if he's ready for week 1, hopefully. How about, he gets compared to Dawson Knox a lot. Who do you guys like better, Dawson Knox or Robert Tonyan? Let's say Tonyan is ready for week 1. Knox or Tonyan?
Dan, are you answering first, or am I going?
No, I'm letting Liz answer first. Liz, you go for it.
A wimp.
I mean,
I
think
based.
I would probably say Dawson Knox because of the offense that he is attached to. But I also think people are maybe reaching for Dawson Knox a little bit more because of the breakout he had last year and the offense he is attached to.
It's Knox for me as well. But Adam, don't watch your mouth over there.
Okay. Let's get Liz's breakout. All right, give me a breakout.
I like Chris Olave a lot this year. I mean, I loved him coming out of college. Definitely across the board, I think unanimously everyone agrees that he is the most polished route runner in this year's class. And when you look at the situation in New Orleans, right, there's all of this oh God, it's so messy. There's no Lombardi, there's no Peyton, it's Dennis Allen. Carmichael remains the OC, and he's been the OC in theory, in name, I suppose, only really, since 2009, I want to say. So there is that little bit of continuity, but Alvin Kamara is probably going to be suspended at least 6 weeks. Also, his efficiency numbers dipped to career low last season. Michael Thomas, tons of question marks. Jarvis Landry, great, but plays a different role than Olave. Olave has the polish and technique to step right in and contribute immediately. And if Jameis Winston is the quarterback, we know that he can push a receiver into production just via his skill set and style of play. So I like Olave, and I think he's going in like the double-digit rounds as well. So that is a guy that I think will completely ROI, and I can imagine him finishing a top 20 wide receiver on the high end, but you're getting him at like wide receiver 6 value.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 46 on Fantasy Pros, going 113th overall. How many rookie wide receivers would you take ahead of Olave or rank ahead of Olave?
Zero.
Nice. Okay. Dan, how about you?
I'm gonna put that's a good question, because I think Liz made a great case there, especially because the role he's gonna play within that offense fits exactly what Jameis wants to do with the deep passing. So let me think who I put Watson ahead of him. I'm a little higher on Watson than Liz's, I guess, as a prospect, or maybe I don't want to speak to Liz's thoughts on him as a prospect. She just mentioned his drop rate, but I'll put Watson ahead of him. I'll put Sky Moore ahead of him personally, and I think.
So Drake London and Traylon Burks.
I'm not putting Drake London ahead of him, and I'm not putting Traylon Burks ahead of him.
And Garrett Wilson, obviously, behind
Garrett Wilson.
And I'm not putting Garrett Wilson ahead of him either.
Okay.
I have question marks with all 3 of those passing games, with the exception of maybe the Titans.
Because there isn't one?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just going to be a lot of punting and a lot of 170-yard passing games.
I have a category in Fantasy Jeopardy today called Advanced Stats.
Okay.
And a lot of the advanced stats, I don't know what they are. But one of them for the running backs
Are they advanced Azer stats, or are they regular advanced stats?
No, they're just regular advanced stats. One of them was opportunity percentage, which I think was probably percentage of carries on snaps.
Probably carries plus targets. No?
It was a rushing report that I got. So I think probably not. I think just probably the amount of carries.
Where'd you get this rushing report from?
It's on True Media. It's like a custom rushing report.
Okay.
And the top 2 in opportunity percentage were Deontay Foreman and Derrick Henry. Even when Derrick Henry was out, it was still Deontay Foreman. All right. So with that said, let's get into our show of stats that I don't even know what they mean. And let's do some Fantasy Jeopardy. We have 3 categories on Fantasy Jeopardy today. We have quarterbacks. We have pass catchers. Could be any position. And we have advanced stats. So we have quarterbacks, pass catchers, and advanced stats. Each category is $200, $400, and $600. So we have 9 total questions here, plus Final Jeopardy. And we are going to start Fantasy Jeopardy right after this quick break on Fantasy Football Today. We are back. All right, so Liz, you get to go for it first as the guest. The board is yours. Again, your categories are quarterbacks, pass catchers, and advanced stats for $200, $400, and $600. Please answer in the form of a question, or I will remove you from the episode.
Without warning?
Without warning. Just one slip up, and you guys are out. What would you like to pick a category and a price?
Give me, please, quarterbacks for $200, Adam.
Okay, very good. This NFC West quarterback was second in the NFL in completion percentage behind Joe Burrow.
Derek Carr. No, that's not the NFC. Yes, nope, never mind.
Who is Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, crap.
Who is Jimmy? Sorry, Jimmy Garoppolo, you said? Sorry, I just had
Jimmy Garoppolo.
I said
my
AFC
wrong
West.
buzzer sound. It's actually Kyler Murray.
Oh, Kyler, yeah.
You know, he's a good completion percentage guy. He's such a unique player. He runs so much, but he also throws a lot. He's a prolific passer. He's not one of these Russian quarterbacks who's going to throw for 3,800 yards. And
What's the A dot on those throws? Because he's
not 13th, or 12th or 13th.
It's not terrible.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, no points for lose and no negative points for wrong guess. So don't worry about that. All right, Liz, the board is still yours. Quarterbacks, pass catchers, and advanced stats.
Well, I have to redeem myself now. Please give me quarterbacks for $400, Adam.
I love the courtesy there, the please. But please remember to answer in the form of a question. I didn't kick you out this time, but I won't kick you out. But, all right, for $400. In the past 2 seasons, he has finished 13th and 12th in pass attempts, but top 5 in green zone pass attempts, which is inside the 10-yard line. In the past 2 seasons, he has finished 13th and 12th in pass attempts, but top 5 in attempts inside the 10-yard line, both seasons.
Who is?
You guys don't have to take turns, Dan. You can jump in too.
Oh, sorry.
Did we get a division?
Kirk Cousins is my answer.
I'll give you who is Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
Did we get a division or a
I'll give
conference?
you NFC.
Okay. 12th or 13th in pass attempts. I'm gonna clock out here. You know,
5,
you never want to do that in Jeopardy.
4.
Who is Aaron Rodgers?
Hey, you got it. All right.
He throws a lot in the red zone.
Yeah, and actually, I'm interested to talk to Heath about this, but I feel like we've been looking at touchdown rate all wrong with Aaron Rodgers.
What
Because
do you
he's
mean?
always, touchdown rate is percentage of touchdowns per pass attempts.
Okay.
But this guy very consistently ranks not so high in pass attempts, but very high in green zone pass attempts. And I never really thought of it like that. You know, in 2014 and 15, he led the NFL in green zone pass attempts, and he wasn't even close to the NFL lead in pass attempts. So that's an interesting way to, it's an interesting thing to look at, I think. Is how often are they throwing near the end zone? All right, Dan, the board is yours, and only 2 answers off the board.
I'll take quarterbacks for 600.
All right, this is a partial credit opportunity. You get $200 for each correct answer. You can get up to $600 for this.
Okay.
These 3 quarterbacks have finished top 5 in passing yards per game in both 2020 and 2021.
Oh, passing yards per game.
These 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, these 3 quarterbacks have finished top 5 in passing yards per game each of the last 2 seasons.
Who is Matt Stafford?
You want to guess more? You can guess
you just do 3 at once, or just rapid firing them? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Matthew Stafford's wrong.
Oh, who is Dak Prescott for sure?
What? You know what? He didn't qualify in 2020.
Oh, take the buzzer back.
Qualifying.
We didn't hear the qual.
Played 5.
You never specified the qualification, but go on. All right, who is Josh Allen?
I don't think
Josh Allen. Who is Josh Allen for sure?
What?
You're done. That's 3
All
wrong.
they do is throw the ball. All right,
That's
I'm
3
done.
wrong guesses.
Who is Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is Joe Burrow? Nope, 3. He's not.
Not Burrow.
No, yeah. Who is Justin Herbert?
Hey, you got it. That's good. That's 400 right there.
And
Those are your 3 guesses.
Oh,
I only give you 3.
okay. Yep,
So
yep.
well done. The other one was Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you guys heard of him. Brady, Mahomes, and Herbert have finished top 5 in passing yards per game each of the last 2 seasons. And I was actually surprised. Burrow was 2nd, I think, last year, and he was like 7th as a rookie. And he had a partial game in there too. So that's
And yet we keep hearing all this discussion about how the Bengals have to throw more if we want to draft him at value. Like,
well, he is going as QB6.
he is going high.
So rich. All right, quarterback is off the board. Now we have pass catchers and advanced stats, and we are tied at 400, folks. Liz, what's it going to be?
I'll give me pass catchers, please, at 200.
Okay, he finished as wide receiver 10 in PPR last season, had more than 100 catches, and was 4th in the NFL in targets inside the 10-yard line.
Who is Hunter Renfrow?
I didn't even have to finish
Wow.
Yes.
the answer.
Unreal.
And he is being drafted as wide receiver 32 in Fantasy Pros ADP. Hunter Renfrow. Well done, Liz. Well done.
Oh.
All right, Liz, the board is yours.
400 pass catchers, please.
A top 10 wide receiver in 2 straight seasons, he saw his catch rate drop from 76.5% to 62.8%, and his yards per target drop from 9.2 to 7.5 in 2021.
Who is Deontay Johnson? Oh,
Was he a top 10 receiver in 2021 as well?
Yeah,
Or
both.
was that 20? Okay, I thought it was 2019, 20. Okay. Huge catch rate dip. Top 10.
5, 4, 3.
Who is nothing?
Stephon Diggs.
oh.
I couldn't think of that one. That was tough.
Yeah, the only wide receiver in the NFL who's had more than 150 targets in 2 straight years.
I didn't know his catch rate. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Back to you, Liz. You have a $200 lead, by the way.
Okay,
That's
pass
fair.
catcher 600.
Another partial credit opportunity. Get it right, and you get $600. Get it wrong, but be within 2, and you get $300. This is the amount of 50 catch running backs we had in 2021, not including Cordero Patterson.
Ooh. 50 catch running backs, not including Cordero Patterson. Who is Dalvin Cook?
No. This is the amount of 50.
How
amount
many do
of
we have?
50 catch running backs, not including Cordero Patterson in 2021.
What is 4?
What is 4? That is partial credit. We had 6.
What?
That we had 6. You were within 2. You get $300. What I said
That's
that.
a really weird way. That was a really weird way to score.
Well, it's really hard.
No, because you've got Austin Eckler, obviously, right? You've got Austin Eckler. You've got Leonard Fournette, right? You've got
James
Dalvin
Conner.
Cook. You've got
Dalvin
Josh
Cook did not
Jacobs.
get
Those
there.
are my 4.
Dalvin Cook did not get there.
Did James Conner get there?
James Conner did not get
Yeah.
there. Najee Harris, Austin Eckler,
DeAndre
Leonard
Swift?
Fournette, DeAndre Swift,
Yeah,
Josh
DeAndre.
Jacobs, and Aaron Jones. And the significance here is I think this really matters on draft day if this trend continues. You don't have to focus as much on this because this is the last 5 years. 2017, there were 14. 2018, there were 16. 2019, there were 13. And then 2020, there were 8. And 2021, there were 6 50 catch running backs. And we had an extra game last year. So teams are not throwing to their running backs as much. That might change, but it's pretty significant to me anyway.
That is significant.
All right, we are done with pass catchers. We're on to advanced stats. Liz, I believe you have a 500-point lead right now.
Dan.
Advanced stats for 200.
Advanced stat for 200.
All right.
This is where it gets sticky.
This player led the NFL in pass EPA, expected points added, or Environmental Protection Agency. I'm not sure which one it is. This player led the NFL in pass EPA.
Who was the best passer last year? Let's go with. I want to get it wrong. That's the problem.
Get it wrong. What's the big deal? You don't lose
Yeah,
anything.
but I need to get points here, Adam. Who is Josh
Who is
Allen?
Matt Stafford?
Okay. And it was a tie between Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers.
I was gonna say either Burrow or Allen.
Joe Burrow is basically like led in every single stat. So he's the best passer last year. All right, for 400. These 2 quarterbacks won the NFL MVP within the last 5 seasons, and both finished top 6 in bad throw percentage, according to Pro Football Reference. That is percentage of poor throws per pass attempt. They were NFL MVPs, and they finished in the last 5 years, and they finished top 6 in bad throw percentage.
Bad throw percentage.
I mean, I don't
Lamar
know if he was-
who is Lamar Jackson?
That's smart.
Okay, and
Well, I'm getting at least partial credit for that.
I'll
But let's
give you
just
partial
write
credit. There's 200 for Jackson.
that.
You each get 2 guesses here.
Who last MVP last 5 years?
No, this is not how it works, Dad. You could answer the question. Let's go.
Okay.
Okay,
Who is Aaron Rodgers?
Who is Josh Allen?
No, one more guess for Liz.
I'm trying to remember who the MVPs were. I don't remember who the MVP was after Aaron.
It was
Mahomes? Yeah, it was Mahomes.
Lamar
But I didn't
Jackson
think he
Patrick
had a
Mahomes.
high bad
percentage, but right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so, right? Look at this list. Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Weird. All right,
You
Dan.
should have been a little clearer with that question, Adam, but go on.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you should have said bad throw percentage in 2021. I was thinking during their MVP
Oh,
year.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's okay.
For 600, he led all rookie wide receivers in yards after catch per catch, just ahead of Jamar Chase.
All rookie receivers.
He led all rookie wide receivers in yards after catch per catch, just ahead of Jamar Chase. This is a bit of a trick question. I'll throw that out there.
Oh no, yards after the catch per catch.
This is 2021, right?
Uh-huh.
Trying to remember who the receivers were.
Who is Devonta Smith?
I appreciate you guessing. And
Who is Michael Pittman?
Jalen Waddle.
Who is Michael Pittman? Was Michael Pittman even a rookie last year? I think he was.
No,
right?
he was not. It was
No, that was year 2.
Yeah.
Who were the other rookies last year?
Jalen Waddle was a rookie.
Oh, who is? Oh, I know who this is. Kadarius Toney. No,
Keep
he had great yards after the catch.
He did, but only one guy had like a negative ADOT, and that was Rondale Moore.
Oh, come on.
I know, it's kind of a trick question, like I said.
Classic Azer.
All right, let me see if I can add up the points here going into Final Jeopardy. Dan got 400 for quarterbacks. Liz got 400 for quarterbacks. Liz got 200 plus 300, so that's 900. Dan got 600. So it's 900 to 600. Liz is in the lead. Our Final Jeopardy category is YPC for life, my unofficial nickname. It is a yards per carry answer here. That is your Final Jeopardy category. Somehow we're going to have to figure out a way for you to tell me how much you want to wager without the other person finding out. Let's see. Oh, boy. Liz, how much do you want to wager? Dan?
Here, I'll close my eyes.
Take your headphones off.
I'll close my eyes.
I will wager.
Okay.
You're going to give me this.
I got you. Dan, how much do you want to wager? It doesn't matter if Liz hears now. 600. All right, Dan's wagering all of it. Liz is wagering 600. Here's the answer. Over the last 5 seasons, no running back has averaged more yards per carry than this guy with a minimum of 500 carries. It's over the last 5 seasons. No running back has averaged more yards per carry than this guy. Dan, can you text me your answer, please?
Sure.
Yeah, text me your answer. You
Do
guys
I get a second to think, or are we just doing a no thinking?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One more
Usually
time.
you get some time.
Yeah, so it's basically the NFL leader in yards per carry over the last 5 seasons. Don't worry about the minimum. It's not going to be somebody who's played 1 season. It's not J.K. Dobbins. He has 6 yards per carry. It's not him. It's a guy who has a lot of carries over the last 5 seasons. Minimum 500 carries, but you're just looking for the yards per carry leader. Somebody guessed Tony Pollard. I don't know if he has enough
it's a minimum 500 carries, right?
Yeah, it's not him. He probably didn't
last
qualify.
5 years.
Yep.
5 years.
All right, Dan, ready for your answer? You text me.
Here we go. I'm just going for it.
That's not gonna work.
All right. While you do that, I'm going to tell everybody that next week we're going to do some fun shows. If blank happens, then blank. That'll be one of our topics. The toughest players to rank. Trying to think off the top of my head. All right. Got our answer from Dan Schneier. Liz, you got an answer?
Who is Melvin Gordon?
Who is Melvin Gordon? That is incorrect. All right. You didn't lose any money. We don't lose money on Final Jeopardy or ever. Dan, your answer was?
Big dog, Derrick Henry.
The answer is Nick Chubb.
Oh, I was thinking about Chubb or Henry. Damn.
Yeah. So Nick Chubb, 5.3 yards per carry. And number 2 was Aaron Jones was 3. Who was number 2?
Where was Henry in this? I feel like his yards per carries have been pretty high. Maybe he gets too many carries.
Might have this pulled up. Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, who has 564 carries. Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry's 4th.
Okay. Not horrible.
So congratulations, Liz. You win. Way to go. Oh, no. Did she freeze?
She might have.
Oh,
Liz
no.
was listed as minus 350 favorite before the show to beat me. I'm the worst.
All right, I'm gonna remove her from here, and hopefully she can reestablish a connection, and we'll get her back. All right. In the meantime, let's read some emails. We'll save Dan.
Save that one. That's a Liz
talk
email.
about some content. You're an editor for us. You do a lot of work behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Tell us. I just got to reach out to Liz real quick. So tell us what's coming up on the website.
So you can check out cbssports.com/fantasy right now. We've got Heath's tiers. So Heath has now done tiers for every position. Quarterback tiers, running back tiers, wide receiver tiers, and tight end tiers. Personally, I'm a huge fan of tier-based drafting. I think it's a really good way on draft day to assess your draft. And I know a lot of you are already been using this, but just for those who haven't, you kind of know when the run at each position is coming and when you got to get in on it. So check out Heath's tiers at every position. You can also find a couple mock draft reviews. We did a Dynasty Superflex mock. I know a lot of people have Dynasty questions. We see a bunch coming in today. I check out this Dynasty Superflex mock that we dropped on the site Wednesday because it's a startup. So you kind of get a good feel for where everyone's being valued there. And if you look back a week ago, we had a 2 wide receiver mock that Jamie ran. That's another great one. I really like what Chris did in the newsletter as well. For those of you who haven't signed up yet, you should check out the CBS Sports Fantasy Football FFT newsletter that comes to your inbox every day during the season. And we're starting to ramp it up. It's about 2-3 times a week. He did an ADP review, and that's one of my favorite things. You look at every single position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and you find the values at every position. And right now there are a lot of values going at every position. And I agreed with a lot of Chris's takes there. So those are some of my favorite things going on right now. Of course, Adam didn't write any of those things. Adam, the one time I asked him to write something, sent me like an old Word doc that like was missing half. Didn't even send me an intro. I had to write Adam's intro. I was lucky to even get the text to begin with. So just go check out the website. Just don't expect to see Adam Azer's name in any of the bylines.
You're very lucky. I think I'm a decent podcast host. I know I'm a bad game show host. I am a terrible writer. So you don't want to read anything of mine. All right, we're going to read some emails, try to get Liz back on. And we got one email in particular that Liz spent a lot of time working on. So we're going to wait for her to come back before we read it. Here's one from Anthony in Tacoma. He says, "Dear Ledger, Sandler, Grohl, and Lee Curtis." You get that one, Dan? Ledger, Sandler, Grohl, and Lee
Adam
Curtis.
Sandler, Jamie Lee Curtis, Dave Grohl, Heath Ledger.
Adam, Jamie, Dave, Heath. Yeah.
I
just think it's very funny that he went the Lee Curtis route here, but
yeah, I'm sure Jamie would be happy to hear that one.
What do we do with Calvin Ridley in Dynasty? I'm in a 10-team half PPR Dynasty league. Ridley just hit our waivers after the rook draft. Is this crazy? Even if I'm stacked at wide receiver, should I be picking him up? And if so, out of a $200 fab for the whole year, including this offseason, what would you bid on Calvin Ridley?
I think it is crazy that he hit waivers. Ridley, although I don't think he's going to play for the Falcons ever again, I'm not so sure that's a bad thing. Some team is going to take a chance on him. He's still at a ripe age for Dynasty where you can still, and he's still one of the best separators in the NFL. I think he might be a top 3 pure separator at the wide receiver position. And he's proven he can play both in the slot and on the outside, despite, concerns about his size coming into the NFL. He really disproved that. So I would be willing to use a heavy chunk of my FAB if Ridley was randomly on the waiver. Now it is 10-team. That makes it a little different, but half PPR, I'm throwing in probably $150 in my FAB. I'm just never finding anything like, you understand, in Dynasty leagues, and the listener, and I'm trying to tell Adam because he doesn't participate in the one Dynasty league we invited him to. He had to.
I am in a Dynasty league, yes.
And we don't know that for sure because I haven't seen proof of that, but I'm trying to let the listeners know, look, as they know, there's a really bad free agency. Like your free agent crop in Dynasty is terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit different in a 10-team league, but yeah, right. You don't need a whole bunch of fab. So most likely to get through the season. I have a team in a Dynasty league, and my team name is Casey Ryback, which you don't get, but it's a pretty cool reference.
Is that one of your favorite bands that nobody knows?
No, it's Steven Seagal's character in Under Siege.
Yeah, I definitely don't get that. Go ahead.
Which is a great movie. Under Siege is a legitimately great movie, but Under Siege 2 was actually the first one I saw.
I forgot to bash you, Adam, for the Ragnarok take. For the 4 takes.
Way behind, bro.
I don't know though. Like I don't know if I'm that behind.
Everybody's been bashing me. I already did this on the air, so I'm sorry. I think you missed your chance.
I just felt like you deserve another shout out for that, but it's all right. It's another bad take. Just move on from it.
This is from Ricky. Full PPR Dynasty League. Starting 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a flex. I have the top 3 picks in our rookie draft. So that's interesting. His best running backs are Miles Sanders, ETN, Darrell Henderson, and Kenneth Gainwell. His best wide receivers are Marquise Brown, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, and Terrace Marshall. Who would you take with the first 3 picks in the rookie draft?
Yeah, so I'm curious if my answer will be a little different than yours, Adam, but I do think this is probably a complete teardown type situation because he has those first 3 picks. It sucks to have him in this year. This is probably one of the ugliest rookie drafts we'll have in a long time. It's been the ugliest I can remember. But having said that, your team still has a lot of young talent. I feel like at running back is where you really need to replenish the talent. I'm not so sure Miles Sanders has more than one more year, if anything, as the starter. ETN to me still remains a concern. I'm not a huge fan of his his long-term outlook. So I'm definitely taking Walker and Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, my first 2 picks. That I know for sure. And then when it comes to that third pick, that receiver, my answer I think will be different than yours, Adam, but I buy into talent with these types of dynasty questions. And I'm looking at these things long-term, and Jameson Williams to me is the most difference-making receiver by far in this class. He's the closest to that Waddle, Tyreek Hill hybrid build. And yes, the situation may not seem perfect now, but things can change fast. The Lions could be in contention for one of these top quarterbacks in the 2023 class. So my pick would be Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I agree with you that I'm going to take somewhat of a tear down approach here. I'm not going to take Ken Walker, though. I'm going to go Breece Hall, Jameson Williams, and Drake London.
Why no Walker?
I think London's going to be a more valuable player in a PPR league.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just don't know. I like Walker. I don't think he's a 3-down back. Don't love Seattle right now. I guess in a vacuum, I like London better than Walker in a dynasty. If I were just doing dynasty rankings, I would have London probably third with Jameson Williams second. Although if you wanted to focus more on this year, you'd take London ahead of Williams. But I really like Drake London. I was so impressed. I don't watch the tape as much as you do, but I was really impressed with Drake London. I think he reminds me so much of Mike Evans. I think he makes contested catches. I think, he's got obviously great size. He's got enough speed. He's not a burner, but is enough speed and very NFL ready player. I really like Drake London a lot. So I'd take him.
It's also full PPR, like you mentioned, and start 3, but basically 4s. In a full PPR, you want that flex to be a receiver every week.
All right. This is from Mark. He says, hello, Sterling Cooper, Putnam, Powell, and Lowell.
Oh,
Sterling Cooper, Draper Price.
Yeah.
Sterling Cooper and partners.
Do you know this, Adam? I feel like you don't.
I know it because I read the email.
Yeah, you're not a TV. You miss all the best TV shows to watch like crap movies, and then this is your life.
Well, that's not true because I've watched all of Stranger Things, which is
Stranger Things. Have you seen Mad Men?
No, I have. It's one of the shows I'd like to watch, but
there it is.
How
about The Wire?
I don't want to get into this, bro. I did start watching The Batman though, the Robert Pattinson one.
Yeah.
See it?
No, of course I don't do movies.
So I actually really like it so far. It's 3 hours long. I got about an hour left.
I heard it's a weird, dark one.
Beyond dark.
Yeah.
It's not a comic book movie at all. It's basically a murder mystery. I'm enjoying it though. I actually loving it. But
loving it so much you didn't finish it all in one sitting.
Yeah, it's tough. Or 2 sittings, buddy. I'm on sitting 3. Anyway, is everyone missing on Marcus Mariota? He runs when he's allowed to. He'll sling it. The most successful he's been was peppering tight ends and big wide receivers. Falcons have drafted Pitts high and traded for an ignored monster and Bryan Edwards. I don't know about that. He didn't mention, but they obviously also drafted Drake London. Like Draper, he's had success, been forced into hiatus. Now he's back with nothing to lose. Does Mariota drop an epic Coke commercial on the city Coca-Cola built?
I'll say this. I got to be honest with you here. I don't love the Draper reference because unlike Draper, Marcus Mariota has never been the elite top of the league type of player, right? Like Draper was the best at the best. And then I agree, he had fell off and came back, but Mariota was never that. Having said that, the reason that's what scares me most about Mariota is not really the talent. I thought he did a good job coming in relief last year for Derek Carr. I think he, like you said, he has pretty good arm talent and he has the ability to run. My issue with Mariota is, can he keep that job? First of all, he's a very turnover-prone quarterback, but more importantly, Atlanta, if they start losing, they really do have to turn to Desmond Ridder at some point because they have to figure out what they have in him before next draft because they're going to be in position to potentially draft another quarterback. So if you're drafting Mariota or if you're drafting these players around Mariota with the hope that Mariota will be throwing them the ball and not Ridder, that's a risky proposition. That's not one that I'm going to subscribe to. And it's my whole reason for avoiding this Falcons offense. I think when you turn to these rookie quarterbacks, a lot of punts, a lot of 3 and outs, very few passing first downs and yardage. So I'm scared off by the entire Falcons pass game right now.
All right. This one is from, this one's from Michael. Good morning. Great, awesome, helpful, and slightly below average.
Wow.
You know who you are.
Who is that? I hope that's, are they taking a shot at you?
I don't know. I assume so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow.
What do you think is the best fab/waiver format? What's your free agency waiver fab format of preference?
I mean, I can answer this question because I'm not one of the main guys, so I may not be someone who's referenced in that email. But man, if this was like a show with Jamie, Heath, or Dave, I don't know if that your question even deserves an answer, but I will answer it. And I think it's just FAAB. Like, I don't really understand the question fully. Is your favorite FAAB, that's free agent budget, that's the best format, right? Like, what are there different versions of FAAB, Adam, that I'm not sure of? I'm not aware of.
No, I think
Is he asking how much money?
No, so I cut out a lot of the email. Basically, his league did Fab for Tuesday night and then turned it off, and then basically turned off waivers until Saturday or something like that. I don't remember, but some leagues run Fab on Tuesday night and then do free agency the rest of the week. Some do it every night, turn it off on Thursday and Sunday, something like that. So I like Fab every night. I don't like the free for all, first come first serve. I think, you got to have a little strategy with Fab, but there should be. I definitely turn Fab off on Sunday. You could certainly make the case to turn it off on Thursday as well. This is from Vinny C from Las Vegas, a 10-year listener and a first-time writer. Dear Bermuda, Bahama, and Pretty Mama. And that would be the greatest theme song for any fantasy show ever. Yes, that would be our Kokomo Friday theme song for fantasy baseball today, which has been legendary for many, many years.
Every time you say so yourself.
I didn't write it. It was written by a listener. And I'm not even on the show anymore. It wasn't a brag. It's a
lot like a brag.
Fun. Why? I didn't mean that.
Well, your name is like in that song. It's like you're featured in
not
it.
Anymore.
It was. When it was at its best, it was. I'll admit that.
All right. So every time I hear Heath talk about Joe Burrow, he mentions how Burrow needs to run more or get more pass attempts to finish top 3. A few things to consider. Joe Burrow was sacked 4 more times than any other quarterback last year, and that was with him sitting out the last week. According to Pro Football Focus's advanced passing metrics, Joe Burrow tied for the 6th worst average pocket time to throw, top 9 for hits taken while having a passing attempt, and top 8 for most times having a pass attempt while under pressure. This isn't even taking into account the mental toll it takes on a quarterback to know you've been hit and are going to continue to get hit at a higher rate, et cetera, et cetera. With that said, if Joe Burrow doesn't get more rushing attempts or passing attempts, but instead has a much higher number of quality attempts, a cleaner pocket to throw from, and takes less hits, is it crazy to think he can finish as a top 3 quarterback? I think you aren't giving Burrow enough credit.
Yeah, I think the finish there is for what he did under that brutal offensive line. But what I'll say with regards to that is this. There was a really interesting study done this offseason that basically looked into how much of sacks are a quarterback's fault and how much are the offensive line's fault. Until now, we've kind of assumed, it's just the offensive line always when a quarterback gets sacked. But really, there are some quarterbacks. What the study showed is there's a clear indication that some quarterbacks take more sacks than others. And actually, I watched a film breakdown with Joe Burrow where he talked about this specifically. He even said, look, in certain situations, when we're not in the red zone, when we're not in field goal range, I am more willing to take a sack to wait for a bigger play to develop. That's his nature, Joe Burrow. He looks downfield. He likes to take shots downfield. He's going to take shots. An improved offensive line, I'm not sure, is going to change much of his specific game. Will it help them in certain situations on 3rd and long? Sure. Maybe he has a little bit more time to stay in that pocket and get rid of the football rather than take a sack. But there are times when he's getting hit, like you talked about his top 10 in hits number last year. The listener talked about in an email, and that is also part of just who he is as a quarterback. So I'm not so sure it's going to make much of a difference in his fantasy profile.
Okay, Liz is back. Hey, Liz.
I'm using my phone as on cellular data, so this is, I don't know, my internet just went kaput, which is never, obviously over the past 2 years, I've been working from home, so this has never happened. So it's
probably Azer's fault.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it was probably because I was about to lose Jeopardy. So there's.
Well, we already read the question about which quarterbacks are TV shows. So
No, we didn't.
I'm just kidding. Now, of course, we saved that. We saved that for you.
Of course, easy save.
Just to speak for Heath, though, Joe Burrow is not going to put up the same yards per attempt and touchdown percentage. Probably his yards per attempt was through the roof. So that's why Heath wants to see more attempts. All right. So with that being said, we've got this question here that Liz did some work on, and Dan and I were stumped. But the question comes from Luke. Earlier this week, and actually what's funny is I'm pretty sure it was Joe Pisapia from Fantasy Pros who did what Luke is saying. Earlier this week, you described Stafford and Cousins as being Seinfeld if they were a TV show. Can you do a segment picking TV shows for each of the top 12 quarterbacks? Okay, it was TV shows, not movies, but I think he said like you put them on, you know what to expect. They're Seinfeld. So with that being said, the only thing I could think of was Russell Wilson is Game of Thrones because he sucks at the end of every season. The way Game of Thrones limped to the finish line. But Liz, what can you hit us with here in terms of TV shows for quarterbacks?
Well, of course, all my notes are gone because I have no internet.
No.
But I will say, for me, Aaron Rodgers was Stranger Things, not just because of the tattoo, though. That's a whole spinoff on itself. Because it's going to be a strange season for him, right? There's the buddy chemistry is not there. I also feel, give me some more quarterbacks. I had a bunch.
Okay, yeah.
Throw out a quarterback.
Mahomes. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford,
Patrick
Justin
Mahomes is Kermit the Frog. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, that's not cool.
Oh, come on.
How about Daniel Jones's Frasier? Boring. You know what to expect. Never going to go outside the box.
Yeah, but Frasier had great ratings. So.
Frasier was.
Oh.
Frasier has to be one of the most overrated shows in American history. I can't imagine anyone. It's about a life of just some yuppie walking around New York and like going out to events. It's so bad. What is that show about?
It's a spinoff. You know? Did you know that?
So bad. Yeah, of Cheers, but it's just like so bad.
It's not that bad.
What is it about? Is this guy's life just living rich in New York? It's so
Isn't that
bad.
what Seinfeld's about?
No, they're not rich in Seinfeld.
No,
and
they're
they're actually
friends.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I feel like Zach Wilson is How I Met Your Mother.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
I don't know that show.
You don't need to know the show to get the reference,
Adam. Joe Burrow is Tiger King.
Now I get the reference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Joe Burrow is Tiger King?
Tiger King.
Nice.
But in terms of like ecosystem, I mean, I felt like Russell Wilson was like, you had to get Top Chef, right? Some sort of cooking show to match that. But if you look at like the HBO, I just like Googled the, best HBO shows and I was like, oh, who's Oz? Like maybe the better question is like, let's take like, who's Hacks? I don't know, like could Tua Tagovailoa theoretically be Hacks this year? We're going to find out.
Who's the Hacks?
Hacks is like an awesome. Do you not watch television? Do you consume media?
What?
Nice.
Hacks is like a fantastic show on HBO in its second series. I think they're like Emmy nominated.
I never saw that one. Can I tell you the best show I've seen recently?
It's gonna be such a bad answer. Go ahead.
Mayor of Easttown is one season. It's on HBO.
It's pretty good. It's not that
That's
bad.
a perfect segue.
Wait.
Jean Smart, who's the mother of Kate Winslet's character, Mayor, is the lead character in Hacks. So now you have some connective tissue.
Okay.
Also, Dan, I just want to say I came in when you were talking about the O-line quarterback stat.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that has been a study, and I know we're talking about it because of Joe Burrow, but like Deshaun Watson to me in his Houston days perfected that holding on to the ball too long and taking all of the sacks. And while the offensive line was a tattered mess, half of that sack stat was his for not finding, for wanting to always play hero ball instead of maybe Derek Carring it a little bit and finding a more efficient check down option.
Yeah, 100%. He's a great example of that. It's also what scared. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, as my brain is working, to that point, then maybe Joe Burrow, to fix that stat, could better utilize Tyler Boyd, who is a ridiculous value despite the fact that he dipped below. He had a career low number of catches, I believe, last year with the, introduction of T. Higgins. But in those 2 weeks that Higgins was out, I think Boyd, and again, I'm flying blind here, I have nothing in front of me. I think Boyd scored a touchdown one of those weeks and cleared 100 yards the other. But maybe the efficiency of the Bengals ecosystem would run more smoothly if Tyler Boyd were utilized more effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get. Well, actually, I really wouldn't because I love Jamar Chase so much. But Aaron Rodgers is the dating game. That's very good. Tom Brady is Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
And then Frazier was in Seattle.
Sorry.
That's true.
That's how bad the show is. I thought he was in New York.
Okay, let's go on to our next question.
Seattle. What is the point of that show? Some guy walking around Seattle doing nothing. Go ahead.
And he's a shrink, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who cares? It was so
No. He's a radio talk show. Maybe he is a shrink, but he's a radio talk show.
His wife is a shrink?
His wife, Maris.
Has to be one of the worst, most boring plot lines for a show ever. Go ahead.
That's The Wire, actually. I'm playing at a 10.
What? No, we're not going down that path.
I muted Dan. I'm playing in a 10-team half PPR Superflex league. We're giving 0.2 points per completion and minus 0.2 points per incompletion. How much does that influence your quarterback rankings? And the next part was I have the second overall pick, and I'm considering Josh Allen. What do you think about that? You're still muted? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad.
I was just going to say I think it impacts it more than I don't think you should be focusing on the incompletion or the completion rate. More you want to focus in on volume. I think it's just total completions that I'd be looking for. So I actually like Allen a lot. To me, this Bills team is going to continue to throw the ball at an absurd rate, and that's not going to stop. The James Cook draft pick to me is literally they want someone to be a check down outlet when in the pass game when they're just throwing the ball every down like they basically did last year. So I'm good on Allen.
All right. I'm going to try to.
What about Liz?
Well, I'll give Liz the next one. I'm going to try to get out of here soon. Gerald Williams with this question, former Yankees outfielder Gerald Williams. Format is dynasty with 2 flex, 2 wide receivers. Looking for some insight on a trade that I want to propose all the way from upstate New York. All right. Okay, he has. I won't go through it all. I want James Robinson on my team. I'm a big believer, and I don't believe that Travis Etienne will own the backfield. I had 2 first-round picks, and I drafted Treylon Burks and Ken Walker. I was going to trade Ken Walker for James Robinson and a 2023 first-round pick. I feel I don't need Walker to compete this season. He has Swift, Dobbins, Edmonds, A.J. Dillon, Rojo, and Ken Walker. And the 2023 first would give me some leverage to perhaps target a top 5 running back. Would you make this trade? Would you trade Ken Walker and a 2023 first for James Robinson?
Well, I mean, first of all, congratulations on the zig while everyone's zagging, or the zag where everyone's zigging. I mean, the passion about running backs in a 2022 market is really impressive, especially in a dynasty format where they lose value so quickly. But if you are really sold on James Robinson and Ken Walker, I think given the rest of your roster is a nice trade piece, because you've got to find the guy, and there's going to be one or girl in every league that just doesn't believe in Rashad Penny. And I think we all see from the drafting that Chris Carson is unlikely to return this season, if ever. So I like the idea of a 2023. I would just encourage Gerald here to maybe invest in a wide receiver next season rather than another running back.
All right, from Jacob in San Diego. Dear Randall, Donovan, Carson, and Jalen.
Eagles.
Eagles, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about how positional fantasy rankings compare to where a player finished in the rankings last season, particularly those players who are being ranked at the top of their position, and it got me thinking, does it make sense to draft or rank a player at the top of their position based on a number 1 finish in the previous season? Yeah. I mean, yeah, what do you think, Liz?
I feel like that's kind of how Christian McCaffrey was the 1.1 2 years in a row. I mean, that's also to me why Deebo Samuel is so stupidly high in terms of ADP, because there's like a recency bias, which we all know exists, that is severely weighing all of these rankings and like consequently their ADP. So I would encourage, I think it's an inevitability that this is occurring, and it's an absolutely correct thing to point out. But I also would encourage, when doing your own rankings, to suss out the recency bias. And those are 2 examples that just immediately came to mind.
Yeah.
Well, I think, if you don't like this, then you take McCaffrey over Jonathan Taylor, because McCaffrey still has the most upside. Jonathan Taylor finished number 1 last year. You take Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's a good example. 28-year-old breakout last year was a little unusual. It wasn't even 29 last year. I don't know, but I think you're kind of drafting the player most likely to finish number 1, probably.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteeing yourself the number one player. But yeah, I mean, huge question marks about Cooper Kupp. We've just never really seen a season like that from a player who's always been very good, but nothing like that. But I get your thoughts. You don't have to, go off the rankings if you want. Go a little crazy with it. Get crazy with the cheese whiz. This is from Steve in Medford, New Jersey. Sounds like it's near Dan.
It's not. Go ahead.
Salary cap keeper question, $300 budget. It's a 10-team league, and it is PPR. Should I keep Najee Harris for $64 or Cam Akers for $10? If he keeps Najee, he can keep for 2 more years, adding $10 each year. If he keeps Akers, this is the last year he can keep him. So it's Najee for 64 or Akers for 10, and it is a $300 budget. Dan, who would you pick?
I'm taking Akers here, and I'm saving the money here. I don't know necessarily that you're going to want Najee Harris at $84 in 2 years from now. And if you do, I think that's going to be at value or worse. So I'm going to go with the big savings here in Akers.
Liz?
I agree. That's way too much value to pass on, especially, again, attached to that offense, that
Right.
system. And we have empirical data that showed previous to the Achilles that he was, wildly explosive and really, really fit well as the workhorse in that offense.
Liz, thank you for hopping back on and for hanging out with us today. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for thank you for being patient with my technical difficulties. I'm a little embarrassed. I never had those.
That's okay. Look, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. You won Fantasy Jeopardy.
Oh my God. What was the answer, by the way? What was the answer?
I don't
Nick
even remember
Chubb.
what the question was. Oh, Nick Chubb.
Oh.
Nick Chubb.
Oh,
yeah.
well.
Congratulations. Well, Dan got it even wronger than you. So, Dan,
Pile on, Adam. Go
Dan
ahead.
loses again. Thank everybody. Have a great weekend. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Email us fantasyfootball@cbsi.com, and we'll talk to you on Monday with a fresh episode of Fantasy Football Today.